Dolbel Reserve is a passive recreational area on the western hills of Taradale. It covers about 18 hectares. Our club became involved as early as 1991 with the planting of some 3,500 native trees and over 500 exotic trees, which has given us this beautiful display of foliage behind us at the moment. We're going to talk to a few people this morning about how it began, our involvement and where we're at today. First of all, let's talk to Ron Ward. We're at Dolbel Reserve in Taradale, beautiful reserve, and it's mid-May 2008. Ron Ward, there have been many people involved with developing Dolbel into the beautiful reserve that it is today. But let's go back to 1991, when it all began, the beginning.
Yes, our theme in that year, Bob Mapstein's year, was Preserve Planet Earth, and the Napier City Council put a proposal to our club that we do something about the rough area of land known as the Dolbel Reserve. And Bob asked me if I would do a feasibility study on it and, if possible, develop a scheme for planting trees and turning this rough area into a park. And this is really how it all started.
So how did we get involved?
I went along and had a look at the whole setup and came back to Bob and said, now this is a feasible thing and we can do it. This will involve a lot of volunteers and a fair bit of hard work. And that is how we went ahead. Bob said, well, are there other people interested? And a number of older members of the club, particularly people like Arthur Stafford, Greg Gear, Bob Twaddle, Gil Atkins and a few like that, volunteered to come along with me and see if we could do something with planting trees and getting the park started.
So Ron, you formed a committee?
No, I didn't form a committee. It was an ad hoc group of people, and there were different people coming along for different projects. Taradale High School was involved initially, and they had used an earlier Rotary scheme called Grow Trees for Survival. And they had grown a number of trees from seeds, and they offered these to us. They came along themselves, the Taradale High School children, and planted about 40 trees in the bottom block, which on the theme Autumn Colours, which is a theme suggested to us by Dolbel for the initial planting. And these trees are now 40 feet high and well established and looking very good.
Well, there was more than our club involved there, wasn't there?
Oh yes.
Taradale High School.
Yeah, Taradale High School was involved, and there were a lot of other organisations like Forest and Bird. The Lions Club was involved at some stage, but groups of school children initially were the ones who predominated up here. They came up regularly on earlier development. Tuesdays was reserved for a group of school children from Tamatea High School under the leadership of Greg Gear's son, Alistair, who was a teacher there, and he brought them along regularly, and they did all sorts of jobs, particularly clearing the rough area, which is now the bottom native block. And the children watered trees, cleared round them, fertilised them and did everything they could.
It's come across pretty loud and strong that there wasn't much funding in the early days. So was there any particular major source for your tree stock in those days?
Yes, there was. One of our former Rotarians, Dick Brunton, grew hundreds of pohutukawas from the seeds and gave the trees to us in little pots. Some of them were given to other Rotarians in our club to grow on, and a lot of these trees were planted up the hill, and some by the City Council are now well established pohutukawas.
Yes, in 1991, when the club first became involved, the other club involved was Napier West, under the control of Don Bell, who was then the Parks and Reserves manager. And as Ron mentioned, he approached our club and we took over the development of the northern section. So there was a southern section worked by Napier West, and they also involved the Colenso High School with a smaller block, which is now worked by Green Meadows Rotary Club. We approached them if they could help us and they willingly said yes. So they are looking after a smaller block on the southern side, as well as the bigger block, which is now controlled by the Rotary Club and volunteers. A smaller block was also developed by the local community. They planted the odd tree, and then moving round to the northern side, we have the exotic block, as Ron mentioned, and the two native blocks. And there is also another block close to the entrance to the park, known as the Cherry Grove, and that is being developed by Taradale Rotary Club also.
This area of the park is known as Cherry Grove. It was established in memory of the Japanese students who were killed in a tragic accident on the Chester Hope Bridge. The theme was, of course, to plant trees in memory of those students, and flowering cherries being one of the trees that Japan is very proud of, were chosen. We not only planted trees in memory of those Japanese students, but we planted other memorial trees, both exotic and native, though the general predominant tree is the flowering cherry.
Did we get any assistance towards this?
Yes, we did.
We?
We did. We got a lot of assistance for the cost of the trees from the parents of the children concerned, and I believe too some assistance from the Japanese government. We have a tree in the native block planted by the Japanese ambassador to New Zealand too, who was very impressed with the way the park was developed and very grateful for our memorial planting in memory of those Japanese students.
Makes it very special, Ron.
It does. This is known as the memorial block, and people have donated exotic trees in memory of loved ones who have passed on, not only in memory of loved ones who have passed on, but for the birth of a child, to celebrate a wedding and all sorts of things like that.
And as you move around the park, you have the children's area, if you like, with the slide. Have you been down there?
No, not personally, but I know of 60-year-olds who have been. In fact, busloads come from other areas simply to take the children out.
You just told me that you planted this tree here. Why did you plant it?
Because we planted it for Sir Edmund Hillary.
Once again, outside the entrance gates to the Dolbel Reserve, Pitbrooker. Lovely to meet you here on this occasion. We've had a chat to Hannah, and that was lovely. Told us why you're here. You tell me what your involvement was.
Well, the Hawke's Bay's Principals Association have put out an initiative for all primary schools to do something today to commemorate Sir Edmund Hillary's 55th anniversary of climbing Mount Everest, and we decided we'd like to do a walk, and we chose Dolbel Reserve because we knew the area and knew it was very beautiful, and we felt if we asked very nicely, the Rotary might let us plant a tree. And so this afternoon we have planted a pūtakawa tree, and all the children have brought a river stone, and we've made a little wall around it with all their names on it, and put a commemorative stone from Rainier School up there.
That's fabulous, Pip. And how many children would have been here?
I would say probably about 280 students from our school, around about, plus family members.
That is a fabulous turnout, and what a wonderful idea. And of course it's going to be there forever, which is what it's all about.
We just thought it would be nice the children can come up in the future and have a look at their tree and remember this day.
It's been going now for many years, so is there a regular maintenance program? How's it cared for at the moment?
There is a regular maintenance program now. When Ray Burney took over the control of it from me, he established a regular day for members who are interested to come up. And we had a group of about a dozen people who came up very regularly on Tuesday mornings and put the whole Tuesday morning into planting trees, releasing trees, developing the park generally.
Yes, there's a regular work team comes up here every week, comprising mainly of members of the Taradale Rotary Club. Some 8 to 10 people are involved, and also there are volunteers from the community who see the work that the Rotary Club have been doing and come forward to offer their services.
We also used in those days a lot of other groups like periodic detention workers, Task Force Green, people of that type. They were very keen, and some of the periodic detention workers came back and did voluntary work in later years. The major significant event has been the responsibility of the Rotary Club in the management with the council of the entire park, not only in the northern area, which was under the control of the club, but with the demise of the Napier West Rotary Club, we are involved with the management of the whole park. And the council, Tony Billing, only wants to deal with the Taradale Club. So whilst Green Meadows Rotary Club are involved, he only wants to deal with the Taradale Club for the overall management of the park. There are at least 10 kilometres of walking tracks throughout the park, developed by the Rotary Club, and more recently the council have been doing this work. Every day of the week you see people up here from first thing in the morning to last thing at night, and it has been mentioned to me on at least 2 occasions that I can recall. A lady has mentioned, "Oh, this is marvellous. It's like coming into another world."
When you come into the park itself, you have the memorial gates, which was something that was instigated by the club in 2000, year 2000, 2001, and developed by the club, in fact paid for in the majority by the club, but of course we were well assisted by other people like Eastern and Central, and I think other Rotary clubs in the City Council, and Pub Charity and 1 or 2 others. But they're a wonderful entranceway to the park itself, and that's very much something that the club can be proud of, as well as the park.
Yeah, that's correct. The gates were designed by one of our members, Ian Kepker. He put a lot of thought into it, and the cost was the cost of the whole project was covered by donations from various organisations. Our Rotary Club put something like 20,000 in towards the total cost. The Dolbel estate put in about 10,000, and there were quite a few other donations from charitable groups like Eastern and Central and places like that.
Opened by the Mayor in 2003, that was a nice occasion.
That was correct, yes. The Mayor was very pleased to come and open the gates for us, and she asked what sort of dress she was to wear, and I said, "Oh, be informal." And we came along dressed up fairly smartly, and she said, "I thought you said it was to be informal." And I said, "Well,
We're always like that.
something like that." But with that, she not only opened the gate, she went right up to the top of the park and back, yes.
I recall at the time we had some opposition from some of the local people who wanted to retain the farm gate entrance type of thing. They maintained that it would spoil the country look. But I think they'll have further thoughts now when they see the magnificent effort that Ian made in the design of the gates. and it's enhanced their properties considerably, I would say.
The Dolbel name attached to the reserve goes back to the time when Philip Dolbel, who was born in Jersey, came to New Zealand in 1855 and eventually moved to Hawke's Bay, where he opened a general store in Clive with his brother Richard. He bought the Springfield station in 1865 and later Redcliffe. The brothers farmed both properties, and this land included what is now the Dolbel Reserve, and by 1891 they had a flock of 25,000 sheep. He served as province and national government and represented Puketapu on the Hawke's Bay County and Harbour Board. He died in 1901, but the land continued in the hands of the family until the second half of the 1900s. To continue the story, we'll talk to Bill Beaton and Selwyn Dyatt.
Well, in the early days, this area we were standing on was known as Redcliffe Station, and it was owned by the Dolbel family since 1865. It was 109 years later that they decided, in the family, to sell this block, and in October 1974 that auction was held at the Red Cross Hall in Napier. I attended that auction with my father-in-law, and the block number 5 in the program, this is the program that was held for that auction, and it was done by Rod Weir and Company, the auctioneers. The first blocks to be auctioned was number 5, which was 101 acres, and that was purchased by Carter Holt of Napier for a housing development. We purchased number 4, which is 55 acres, which is adjoining to that section. 12 years after the purchase, Des Ledbetter, the CEO of Carter Holt Napier, approached me to buy our property number 4 to extend their housing development. This is what we did, but they were required by the council to make a contribution to the Parks Reserve Fund of the Napier City. To do that, they gave them the surplus land of number 4, which is now known as Dolbel Reserve.
We're even further down from the top of Dolbel Reserve, now amongst a lot of native trees, and I see a couple of kauris there. They're a splendid tree, and quite unusual to have them growing this far south, I believe. Let's talk to Selwyn now.
This is certainly a very lovely block. It's in a gully which has got great topsoil, soil that has actually been washed down out of the gullies over years. And it's our most industrious block, and we have the best tree growth in this particular area. The kauris we're planting here, people have told us we'd never grow them. We've had people from North Auckland visiting us, and they have said we would never grow them, but we certainly are. And the one behind me certainly shows that the kauris can be grown in the Hawke's Bay. Funding, which has become a large part of our organisation now, because we're spending a lot more money than we used to. We get funding from the regional council, funding from City Council, Napier City Council, funding from the Hastings District Council, funding from the public, and that's a major part of our operations, the funding from the public, and the funding, of course, from the Rotary Club of Taradale. Back in 2002, it was felt that we needed a strategic plan because some of the things that have been happening in the block just weren't happening the way they should have done. The tree lucerne that had been planted many years ago was too thickly planted, too many of them, and they become a nuisance in the finish. And so there's things like that, and the types of trees we grow best in certain areas, and clay areas and good soil areas and things like that. So there was a plan required between us, that's the Rotary Club of Taradale, and the City Council, and that was developed in 2002. And so we stick pretty close to that strategic plan now.
Another good feature is that it's going to time very well with our other major project, the Pathways project, with the Rotary Clubs of Napier. Now, Selwyn, you might have an idea about how you'd like to see it.
Yes, Warren, I'd like to see the pathway come along the boundary of Dolbel, right around the top of the hills. Being in City Council land, I think it's the ideal place to be. Get wonderful views from the pathway up the top, and so the pathway coming up from Gloucester Street through the hills up into the top of Dolbel, running along the top of Dolbel, and then out onto Puketapu Road.
Around there have been a number of awards which the Taradale Rotary Club has earned because of this project.
Yes, that's right. The first one we got was a Regional Council Award. The following year we got a national award from Wellington, but I do remember that Robin Arnold, then Secretary, wrote a letter to the Environmental Grants Committee in Wellington, and the award came through fairly quickly, as well as a cheque for $500, which we were very pleased to receive, because up till then the park had been operating on a very slim budget. We didn't ask for any funding at all in the early days, and all our voluntary work was purely voluntary. We donated our time and our vehicles and everything like that, and that is how the park really got established.
I think and consider this is one of the best projects that the Rotary Club has done in the last 50 years.
It's been a wonderful project, and the park has become an asset to the Taradale community. It's used practically every day and enjoyed by literally thousands of people, young and old.
Thank you, Ron Ward.